I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Grissom, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, probably like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right, shout out to the fam, man. How y'all doing today, man? What's happening? What's going on, Who That Nation? How y'all doing, man? We in this building for another episode of The Coma, opening up Monday. Shout out to the fam. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Was popping. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in the live. Much love to the fam. Man, this one here entitled Saints Cap Challenge 32.6 over. Restructures plus a new highs. We'll cover all this in this episode of the show. So please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. Sports Coma representing the mighty Who That Nation, the great Saint Think Tank. We up in this thing. Shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all being here. All right, big ups to everybody, man. Good to see y'all in the building. Bronze, good to see you, fam. Brandon Davis, what's happening, brother? How you doing? OG Jerry and everybody in the building. That boy alone, the swag fam, brother Quavadius is in this thing as well. Good to see all y'all, man. Much love, brother Reginald. I see you, fam. Appreciate you being here. All right, yeah, Chase. We are the Raiders now. You know what, bro? We talked about that in previous streams, man. Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis, the general mismanager, Slick Mickey Loomis. A lot of people questioning Mickey's sanity right now has allowed the Saints to become the Raiders. And like Mr. Raider, the biggest Raider, is probably going to join in the Saints late after July is over with his court case and all that settled. You know, they got a spot for him. BJ9, shout out to you. Good to see you, fam. Appreciate you as well. Brother Rodney's in this thing. What's up, Tuck? How you doing? Good to see you in the building as well. Big ups. Dana, Much love to the queens up in here. Appreciate you kindly. What's up, Brother Rowe? Brother Rowe's in this thing as well. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. All right, so anyway, we got let's jump into some news, notes, and items, fam. We cover this in this episode of the show. Let's get right into it on this show. All right, so you look at, I have currently on the screen right here, this is Sport Track. Over the Cap. I use Sport Track and Over the Cap. I do prefer both services, but Over the Cap is pretty good. What's up, Brother Craig? How you doing, bro? All right, yeah, but this is currently the numbers right now in terms of the Saints. As you can see there, 32.6 mil in the red, going in the wrong direction. But anyway, this is some of the things that happened. And it was a little higher than that. It was 42 million, but the Saints did a little work not too long ago in reworking the contract of Carl Granderson. So let's kind of jump into that. Saints restructured contract with Carl Granderson. Saints continue to clear salary cap space and restructuring one of their top defensive players. Shout out to Bob. Inside NFL, Insider Tom Pelissero reported that the Saints are going to restructure the contract, and obviously they did it already. To move its conversion of the signing bonus signed last year, it'll clear about 7.2 million in salary cap space. And New Orleans is now reportedly facing a cap deficit of just under $30 million. Now, Over the Cap has it at 32.6 currently. Now, free agency is set to start March the 13th, and the team has restructured Granderson, Derek Carr, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, defensive tackle, Nathan Shepard, and these moves have cleared to combine around 41 mil. And then Granderson, brings them down to the over the cap figure of 32.6, as you can see right here that I have highlighted. So that is currently right now where the black and gold is. Let me kind of it's 32.6. I refreshed it just to make sure, but 32.6 is currently where it is now. Now, of course, Granderson was a guy, fantastic story about Carl Granderson. We all know and love, undrafted out of Wyoming, got arrested, was in jail, case got overturned. Something funny business happened with the judge, did something she wasn't supposed to, overturned this case, let him out of jail. Ever since then, he been the Saints, and then credit to the Saints for believing in him, because some people would have just cut bait and run. The Saints actually believed in Carl Granderson, believed in his innocence, and didn't release him, waited till all his stuff was cleared up, and then he got out, and all he did was show his appreciation by turning in some really good solid numbers, to the point where Carl Granderson currently is your best pass rusher. You know what I'm saying? 23 career sacks, 48 QB hits, 33 tackles for a loss, 4 fumbles forced and 2 recovered. 27 years old, best season last year, 8.5 sacks, 20 QB hits, 28 pressures, 14 tackles for a loss, 78 total stops, best numbers of his career. Now, of course, this is the first full year where he started, and the man earned himself, undrafted guy that built himself up into an NFL star. Well, not star quite yet, but an NFL starter, rather say that. One of the key pieces of the league's better defenders. Granderson was the team's most consistent defensive lineman last year. The Saints inked him to that 4-year, almost 35.5 million, but 35.3 to be precise. And of course, Granderson's guaranteed money was the most ever for an undrafted defensive lineman. It is the 4th highest for an undrafted player, with former Dallas Cowboy Tony Romo topping at $55 million in guaranteed money. Now, Granderson appeared in 17 games, 79% of the team's defensive snaps last season, played in 71 of a possible 75 contests over the last 4 years, and has played in 26 consecutive games. So Carl Granderson is the best defensive edge rusher or best defensive end that you have currently. No disrespect to Cam, but we're talking about in terms of current. Cam had like 2 sacks last year, and he was battling that really tough ankle issue. But in terms of the future, you got to give it to Carl Granderson. All right. So, shout out to Carl Granderson, and the Saints continue to try to climb down and try to see if they can make any other moves shake and happen. So this is, and shout out to Kat Terrell. This is sourced from her article right here, where she covered a lot of this the other day. But these are some of the moves that the Saints still could make, right, to get further down. And they're going to touch a lot of these contracts in the next several days, because we know there's a timeline here. Restructure of Ryan Ramczyk, who more than likely Ram's not going to play this year. He could be possibly facing a situation where he's not going to play for the rest of his career. Ram's knee injuries certainly concerning, but unless he chooses to retire after June 1st, the biggest avenue to open up cap space is restructure it and hope that they can find a solution to the problem. A full restructuring would save almost $12 million against the cap. Saints could add another voided year to spread out the money and even more, and based on this situation. So as we can see, Ryan Ramczyk, that is definitely going to be something that the Saints are going to see about doing, about restructuring his deal and try to get as much money down, because they would be a fool not to. All right. Also restructuring Cam Jordan, who's 35 going into the season, coming off a difficult season where he had only 2 sacks and several injuries. 27 million cap hit is the second highest on the team. 6.7 million roster bonus due to his year, in addition to his $6.3 million base, converting both the signing bonus and spreading over a 5-year season up to almost $14 million in savings that they can get from Cam Jordan here. So anyway, it'll be something where we have to focus on and see if we can get this done in terms of him. I just think, man, a lot of the stuff that's going on with the Saints and their cap situation could be worked out, and they're going to definitely do it over some of these guys. So we're looking at almost $12 million for Ramczyk. We're looking at savings of almost $14 million for Cam Jordan. The restructuring of Demario Davis could be something that they do. As he turns 35 this year, they could do a simple restructure and turn his base salary and the $2 million roster bonus into a signing bonus, spread it out over the voided years that they'd like to do. That's just over $8 million on Demario Davis. And of course, they already did Carl Granderson $7.2 million. The Cesar Ruiz thing. And then of course they mentioned some releasing going on. Marcus May. Releasing Marcus May. This is some just ideas that they thrown at doing it. The Granderson thing already happened because this was written prior to it. But you can see if they're sitting at 32.2, working Rams deal at almost 12, and the almost 14 million right there between Cam and if that is exactly the restructuring they're going to do, gets a big chunk of the 32.6 right there, and then another 8 from Demario Davis there also puts him over, and then they would have to then keep clearing to open up money for signing of draft picks, and of course whatever free agents that the team is attempting to try to do as well. So getting down to back into the black and then doing other stuff. Now, let's talk about this one right here. She mentions Marcus May, releasing Marcus May. Played 12 total games since he signed with the Saints as a free agent in 22. May is due $7 million in base salary the final year of his contract, which is significant for his age, performance, and availability. Saints could save some money by releasing May and moving on to a young player like Jordan Howden. What would be the savings on releasing Marcus May? An estimated probably 1.1. They're saying $1.1 million. But that's the thing. A lot of people like that too. It's like Marcus May. Really, the Saints really need to think about kind of moving back, because Marcus May, man, listen, he did some positive things, but if you poll the entire Who Dat Nation and ask them whether or not Marcus May should be released, I'm interested to hear what they got to say. So, matter of fact, let's do that. How about we do that, family? Let me see if I can get a poll going in the chat. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can put a damn poll up here in the chat, because I want to know what you guys think about that. Give me a second here. Let me get that going. Y'all hit the like button for me, please. For y'all just coming in the room. Let me see if I can put up a poll here. Hold on. Oh, crap. Hold on. Let me start a poll here. Give me a second. Let me put this up here right quick. Should. Y'all give me just a second. Let me put it, because I want y'all to engage here. And let me know how y'all feel about Marcus May. Should the Saints release Marcus May? All right, I'm gonna put that up there, and we're gonna start it. There you go. All right, it's up there. All right, the poll. Y'all chime in on. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that poll. I got it up there now, and y'all already jumping on it. Damn, y'all fast, man. All right, so anyway, he played in 12 total games since he signed with the Saints as a free agent in 22. $7 million base salary, final season of his contract, which is significant for his age, 30 years old, performance and availability. The Saints could save by releasing May 1.1 million. Ain't big savings, but it's $1 million goes along with everything else. So um would it be advantageous for the Saints to release May as opposed to them attempting to keep him? I often think about like the Saints are, one of the oldest, if not the oldest team in the league. So right about now, you at the back end of that window. We talked about it like when Dennis Allen first took over the team, we knew what we was doing. They understood the complexity of having a older core for your team. And the solid core of the team is old veterans they're old productive veterans. Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis. Cam is usually productive. He had the ankle situation and so on and so forth. Taysom Hill is in that mix. He's productive. So, I mean, and at some point, you want to kind of gradually replace these guys, get them out, and that's something that the Saints have to do a better job of. And safety is one of those things. They did a phenomenal job last year getting Jordan Howden out of the University of Minnesota, and he was really good for them. He came in, did some really good work, but they need another one. Let's see if we can find another safety in this upcoming draft to bring in here for, to add that new safety look for us in the future. There's also some stuff in terms of linebackers that we need to look at. They kind of added guys to replace Cam Jordan. Like they got two guys that's currently on the team that were drafted. One with a first round draft pick, the other one was a second round pick to be potential heirs when Cam Jordan leaves. But where's your heir for Demario Davis? I don't believe it's Peat Werner. I think they need another guy. Pete's good, but they need another guy there. So it goes on and on and on. So, but we'll get it. What's up, KB? Shout out to you. Good to see you. Slim, how you doing, brother? Molly Mall, good to see y'all. So I'm gonna bounce back to that and kind of get that in the end and find out what's going on. She has the option here of whether or not to extend Andrus Peat. Peat took a pay cut in 2023, and I'm gonna call you back. All right. So excuse me. Extended Andrus Peat. Pete took a pay cut in 23, reducing his 11.825 million base to a 1.5 mil and receiving roster bonus of 4 million for a total pay reduction of 6.3 million. That saved the Saints around 9.5 million against the salary cap. Pete's contract is set to void in the offseason. It will cost the Saints almost just over 13.5 million against the salary cap if he does. So if Pete's contract is set to void in the offseason, it will cost the Saints some money. While Pete initially lost his starting job at the left guard position, and in returning in a reduced contract, he proved he still has the value after subbing in at the left tackle when Penning was benched. If the Saints were able to re-sign Pete to a 1-year deal at the same salary, 1.5 million, $4 million signing bonus, they could reduce the hit to just over 9.8 mil, which is a savings of almost 3.8 million, keeping them on the roster for an additional year. There would be a lot of variables involved, such as what position Pete plays, which he plays guard or tackle, and it would serve for Clint Kubiak, who would better be served to go and find his own type of offensive lineman to come in and do it. Because I wasn't impressed with what Marone did last year with the offensive line, and he wasn't replaced. He let it stink. The coach let it stink the whole year, so I wasn't impressed with that. But new leadership comes in, different things can happen, different philosophies can happen. Players look differently when different guys come in. So, I still feel like we need some more guys to come in to kind of keep that competition going. But if John Benton, who's the new offensive line coach, comes in and he does I think he'll do a better job than Doug Marrone, what he did last year. And he brings some new stuff. He'll get these guys moving, kind of teach them the game. Things could change a bit. Think for a second, like what, you had Coach Richard, what he was doing in the years with the secondary was, which, when you had Aaron Glenn there, we had a pretty decent secondary. And then when Coach Chris Richard stepped in, you seen different players step up and improve under a new coach. And then you seen improvement when that happened when Coach Richard left. And then you seen Joe Woods come in as the defensive coordinator. His job is to take care of the cornerbacks. You seen several Saints players at the cornerback level improve their play. That went up. Now, sometimes you'll get a coach that speaks your language, that defines the games, and not all coaches are created equal. Let's just say we know that. Not all coaches or head coaches or assistant coaches have speak the same language. Some are better teachers than others, obviously, right? So this could be a thing, but I still will be a guy that promotes for John Benton and Clint Kubiak coming in here to bring some of the guys that know their system in here to mix in with whatever he has left offensively speaking, because the cupboards are not bare here in the city of New Orleans. Listen, our offense could compete with the best of them. Let's get this together here. The only reason why the Saints offense suffered this year is because they had a good scheme. Sean Payton had this scheme down here for years and was kicking everybody in the NFL's ass. The problem was in many of Coach Payton's years, he didn't put the defense with the offense. And many other things, sidebar things like not doing a good job staying too, tied to Drew Brees when Drew Brees was beyond his competitive years, when he should have been replaced. When he got hurt that year and he couldn't perform, he should have been replaced. And the guys should have been brought in, because you could see, you can't play. It's very rarely that you'll see guys that'll play that long at that high level. You can see Drew Brees really suffered for it because, like he said, he can't even use his right arm. And I don't know how accurate that is, but he said it. He got to learn to throw with his left arm because his right arm is messed up. That's terrible. But that's because they didn't know how to get the hell out the way and be visionaries. These people do this all the time. But anyway, before I get on them, this is the thing I'm talking about with what happens here. The offense that they had was not a bad offense. It was kicking the NFL's ass year after year. The problem was they didn't have true leaders running that offense. They didn't have any accountability. They didn't have a guy that was in there getting on these players and telling them to do the right thing. And when they make mistakes, take time from them. They didn't have the fear. They didn't have the fear or the respect of authority. Not saying they were bad players, but if you're a coach, and even Elvin Kamara said it, that guys were false starting and they just sitting up there looking stupid, not saying nothing. And I'm like, they false starting. If a guy false starts, he got to pay for that. If a guy fumbles the ball, he got to pay for that. Meaning, go do some running. You're going to do push-ups. You're going to pay for that. You're hurting the team. You're going to pay for that. One way or the other, there have to be some type of level of accountability. And they didn't have any level of accountability. All they did was made excuses for the errors and the bullshit that was going on in that team, in that offense. That's that real deal. So this guy comes in. What's the difference? He's a no-nonsense guy. He does have an accountability mindset with them, and that should help them improve because they didn't have that last year. They had a good system with a milquetoast guy running it. They didn't have a guy in there even if you don't like Gruden, you got to give it to Gruden. Gruden's gonna fuss, he gonna cuss, and he gonna make sure you do it right. You think Carmichael was doing that? Hell no, he wasn't doing that. The guy can't survive without Sean Payton. He can't survive without Sean Payton. So, I mean, anyway, it must be nice, right, to go run up under Peyton's skirt when you lose your job. Anyway, this is some of the savings and the potential savings. They talk about the trade or restructure. I'm not for trading Elvin, but he restructuring his contract at 29, the beginning of the season, coming off a year in which he had the fewest yards from scrimmage. That's not all his fault. Offense stunk. He was there. They underutilized Elvin Kamara. The offensive line was trash. The offense was up and down like a dog, but Elvin Kamara was there after the suspension trying to do some stuff, and it was ridiculous, in many games. Average $15 million a year, ranked second in the NFL behind Christian McCaffrey, which is what you hoping that Clint Kubiak can take this and turn him into. If the Saints restructure Kamara's contract, it will free up $8 million, but result in a significant dead money hit in 25 if they choose to move on next year. Trading him would free up over 10 million base salary and 1.6 million in bonuses, but would only save 1.5 million against the cap. It would also leave the Saints in a precarious situation at running back, with rookie Kendre Miller spent most of the season hurt and Jamal Williams averaging 3 yards a carry. Alvin Kamara could serve, and that is not an option, not right now. In a desperation year, you need he's arguably your offense's best player. For real. He's arguably the offense, and then it's how you use Alvin Kamara. It's how you use him. He's not just a running back. He could be moved all over the field. If you have imagination to use him, he could be used all over the field. And really, Alvin Kamara don't have to come off the field as much as he does. I mean, you can slide him into a wide receiver role and pair another running back behind the quarterback. I mean, it's all about imagination. And I think Kubiak, if he's going to take Shanahan's system and bring it here, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to find a way to utilize him where he can get more yardage and more miles out of Alvin Kamara, because he wasn't utilized right last year. He really wasn't. But you would expect the kind of million they're talking about, the $15 million, which ranks behind Christian McCaffrey, because they're similar backs. These are multi-purpose guys that'll destroy you on the football field. So I'm not for trading him, but they said potential restructuring could save $8 million. Trades 1.5, so you can see what happens there. And of course, she mentions the releasing of Michael Thomas as a post-June 1st cut. Saints won't be able to use Thomas or Jameis released to get compliant at the start of the league year, as both will have to be on a roster that day to be labeled post-June 1st cut. However, they can use the cuts to open up space for later moves. If Thomas is designated a post-June 1st cut, the Saints will get $1.21 million base salary back after that date. You see the savings there. The release of Jameis as a post-June 1st cut, recently restructured contract in a way that would allow the Saints to release him as a post-June 1st cut and spread out his salary cap hit. He said that still wants to be a starting quarterback somewhere. So that's not going to happen in New Orleans, because Derek Carr is the man, you see. And the future in their minds is Jake Hayner, and they probably will bring in another veteran quarterback, Sam Darnold or something like that, or at a cheaper rate to occupy or be a backup quarterback. Guys are always going to bring the guys they're familiar with them. And Jameis is, as far as I'm concerned, Jameis Winston is not going to be a New Orleans Saint player after this year. So I hope he does, but I just don't see it happening. Other savings, a pay cut for Taysom Hill. Approaching players for pay cuts has been a part of the Saints strategy. Peat, Thomas, Winston took pay cuts last year. Former kicker Will Lutz took a pay cut last season as well, but was traded. Players who take pay cuts are usually players who will be released at their current salary and will not be able to find similar compensation elsewhere. Hill, who turns 34 right before the open, is still highly productive in his unique role for the Saints. He has led all players other than the starting quarterbacks in total touchdowns for the last 3 years. The Saints will likely open up several million in cap space if he agrees to take a pay cut to return. So all these things could be I don't see the only thing I kind of, and this is just the option. She's not saying that, but it's just an option in terms of the Saints trading Alvin Kamara, because you got to look at all those things. You got to look at everything. You look at all things and what you can do. But in a desperation year, like in the last year of a Dennis Allen contract, you would not recommend that New Orleans Saints trade their best player offensively speaking. Now, we know Chris Olave's phenomenal, but Alvin Kamara is a big part of what the Saints do offensively. And then with Clint Kubiak coming here, that to a offense that, like I said before, the cupboards are not bare here. We have a lot of really good players here. That can really help ascend and make the Saints offense a top 5 unit in this here league. And Alvin Kamara could have similar stats and statistics as a Christian McCaffrey. Those guys mirror each other a lot. So I'm pretty sure Clint Kubiak is looking to get Alvin Kamara involved more in his system. For it to have success, you're going to need that. And just sidebar before we kind of move on to the next article here. The Taysom Hill situation. We talked about this on the Friday stream, the last show that we did. And, we talked about some of the former players from the 49ers that Clint Kubiak, and of course, some of these guys under contract. But when you look at, how their offense was ran. You see how important a guy like Justin Juszczyk was for the 49ers. And it was like, okay, how, it'll be cool for us to get Juszczyk, but he is still under contract. But it bared the thought that in the great Saint think tank was going on. And something said to me, and the family members in the chat was saying it too. I was looking at them like, comparing the two, Taysom Hill and Justin Juszczyk. Now, Check is a guy that you call him a fullback, but he does a lot of things for the 49ers, right? So, you look at Taysom Hill, and I'm saying, could Clint Kubiak have his first brilliant thought? It says, I'm going to take Taysom Hill and turn him into Justin Juszczyk, or create a role similar to Juszczyk that he has with, and I was like, okay, could he do that? We've seen before in the Saints offensive playbook and on the field where they would use Taysom Hill as a fullback. We've seen the Saints use them. They'll put Taysom in there. He would block for Elvin Kamara, and he did a really good job of blocking because he's a running back. That's what Taysom is. He's a running back. He's not really a quarterback. I've been saying that for several years now. He's not accurate enough to be a quarterback. He is a running back. He play wide receiver, can do a lot of stuff, but a lot of his production came from him running the football. He'll run the ball from the quarterback position. So, but can Taysom Hill be a fullback like a Juszczyk is? And Juszczyk plays all over he can play. He can get you short yardage. You can line him up as a fullback. He'll block for you. You can give him the ball like a running back in short yardage plays. He'll get you yardage that way. You can move him around, play him as a tight end. You can use him all the way around the field. Can Taysom be like Juszczyk? Could he be used in that role under Clint Kubiak's style of system? And what's interesting is if you look at Juszczyk's size, he's 6'2", 230, 235. Guess how big Taysom is? 6'2", 230. I was like, I think Juszczyk is a little bigger than Taysom. I looked them up. They're the same size, man. They're the same size. So imagine that. You're like, man, it'd be cool to have a fullback like the 49ers, a guy like that. You got him. His name Taysom Hill. But can Kubiak, can Clint be the guy that discovers that and turns Taysom into that for the Saints offense? That would be phenomenal. That would be a really good idea to do it. At first, I was like, man, Juszczyk is bigger than I looked at the statistics and their profiles. They're the same damn size. And I'm pretty sure Taysom could do it. All right. So anyway, let's keep it going, man. Let me kind of look at it. Yeah. Shout out to the fam, man. I was looking at the should the Marcus May release. I'm tripping, man, because I ain't have time to. I was typing on the fly, but y'all got the moment of it. Should the Saints release Marcus May? And 77% of the family members said yes, and 23 said no. So a resounding win in that poll. So we're gonna end that poll right there. So shout out to the fam. That's what the hell I get for typing on the fly right here, trying to talk and type at the same time. All right, so anyway, that's some of that there. Let's move on to the next thing, fam. Let's kind of move on to the next hire right here. And shout out to Bob again. The New Orleans Saints to hire Dave Ziegler or Ziegler. Saints add an experienced name, and I said experimental, Freudian slip right there. Name to their brain trust loosely, right? In preparation for free agency. Yeah. Brain trust. Yeah. And the draft. So let's cover the story. CBS Sports is the first to report that the Saints are hiring former Las Vegas Raiders general manager. How about that? Is this the guy that hired Dennis Allen? you the one gave me a job. You know what? You ain't working right now. Probably because you hired me. But listen, I'm going to give you a job. I talked Mickey into it. And we got another Raider on staff, Ziegler. And an advisory role, they'd be hiring general manager David Ziegler in an advisory role through the 2024 NFL draft. Despite several changes on the coaching staff, the New Orleans draft process will still be headed up by head scout Jeff Ireland, GM Mickey Loomis, and head coach Dennis Allen. Now, Ziegler's role and tenure has not been officially specified. He's 46, had been a general manager of the Raiders for the for the previous 2 seasons over that time. The Raiders' most notable draft choices have been defensive end Tyree Wilson, tight end Michael Mayer, QB Aiden O'Connell last year, and Zamir White in 2022. Now, Las Vegas finished with a 6-11 record in 2022. After the Raiders started 3-5 in 23, Ziegler was fired on November the 1st. Las Vegas finished the year 8-9, firing their coach Josh McDaniels and his tenure, his entire staff at the end of the season. Now, Saints QB Derek Carr was a starter for the Raiders in 2022. He was benched at the end of the year, ultimately getting released and signed with the Saints in offseason. Prior to joining the Raiders, Ziegler was with the Patriots from 2013 to 21, assisting in 3 Super Bowl championships teams. He started as an assistant director of pro scouting. And in 2016, Ziegler was promoted to New England's director of player personnel, a role he had for 6 years. His first job was with the Broncos in 2010. He was a personnel assistant in his first year. So there you go. The 2024 draft will be April the 25th to 27th in Detroit. New Orleans owns the number 14 choice in the first round. New NFL free agent officially begins March the 13th. Teams may officially contact pending free agents for negotiations on March the 11th. Shout out to Bob on that one. And that is we becoming the Los Angeles or Las Vegas Raiders. There you go. So there you go. And the biggest one is going to be when we finally get old Gruden pie, when all that stuff's shaking. Could y'all wait for that? All right, then we're going to go to this one from The Wire. Shout out to The Wire. Saints' biggest team needs ahead of the NFL scouting combine. All right, let's take a look at it. All right, and see what's shaking. No team is perfect, but the Saints have a long to-do list going into the 2024 offseason. This week's NFL scouting combine will be a great opportunity for them to gauge their options. It's looking like a strong draft class. For running backs, for example, maybe they can spend their dollars at linebacker instead. Here go a couple of areas of need to look at for the Saints. And they got it listed from 6 on down to number 1. Number 6 need, wide receiver. Right now, there are 3 wide receivers under contract with the Saints: Olave, A.T. Perry, and Michael Thomas, who they'll have to release or extend by March the 13th. Now, Rashid Shaheed is an exclusive rights free agent, which means he'll be back at a minimum salary, but the depth chart is barren after the top 3 positions. For context, the Saints had as many as 13 wide receivers on the roster during training camp last year, and they never had fewer than 6 of them on the roster and practice squad during the season. Depending on how Kubiak wants to develop his receiver core, this could be a position to target in the draft or splurge in free agency. Either way, the Saints need to start adding players. So there you go. But we know who we have. Our top guys, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. We know A.T. Perry is another good guy that's, size-wise and showed us some good plays this past season. But you kind of look at an area where the Saints would probably see a guy like, Keith Kirkwood and guys like that, the veterans, coming back on really cheap contracts, stuff like that. Of course, the 49ers, you have Kubiak, who will find guys who he likes as well that can come in. But we're talking about big splash players to play along Chris Olave. A lot of people don't see that occurring. So we'll just have to see how that all plays out. Defensive back is the number 5 choice right here. Alontae Taylor struggled so badly in the slot last year. The Saints could be looking for a better option in 2024. I don't know. I mean, it's just Alontae Taylor. You got to understand that when you're talking about guys like Alontae Taylor and guys that have a lot of promise, you got to remember it was Alontae Taylor's second year. It was his sophomore year. They go through the sophomore slump. Hell, it happened to Paulson Adebo. Paulson Adebo hit the sophomore slump, and people are like, Q, we got to get rid of him. I'm like, bro, sophomore slump. Some of them go through it. A lot of times they go through that second year. It's really difficult. Chris Olave went through I ain't gonna say it was a difficult year. His numbers improved, but boy, it was a tough year operating in that system. So they're saying he led the NFL in targets, 96 catches through 65, allowed 65. What is it? He led NFL in targets, 96 catches, allowed 65, and yards given up 626, yielded 6 touchdown catches, which ranked second most around the league. Teams didn't respect him in the role, and they attacked him relentlessly. Allen needs to play Taylor to his strengths and move him back outside. which could be a part of the motivation in considering the Marshawn Lattimore trade. Now, I don't. What he's saying is true, but at the same time, you got to employ more patience. Alontae Taylor, we've seen Alontae Taylor play the slot position. He was drafted to play the slot position because the Saints seen Marshawn Lattimore as a shutdown cornerback and Paulson Adebo as his complement. And Alontae Taylor was drafted to replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to play that role. Now, originally, they wanted Alontae Taylor to be more of wanted him to play, have some duality where they could see him possibly as a safety. So that was something that they were looking at trying to employ as well. It just, things change a bit, So anyway, Dennis Allen needs to play Taylor to his strengths. But it's also worth noting that the safeties, both Matthew and May, will be free agents in 25. Jordan Howden had some nice moments last season, but the coaching staff decided to play Jonathan Abram ahead of him in the back of the half of the season. Now, JT Gray, still a career special teams ace, will be worth investing in a replacement plan for either Matthew or May, depending on the plan for the future with the team. I agree with that. And we just talked about that in the previous article about whether or not the Saints should release Marcus May. 70-something% or 75% of the pollers said that, yes, they should release him to, get rid of him and perhaps find another guy there. Because Howden looked really good. He looked really good. And Marcus May is not as available as you would want him to be. I'm sorry to say. But they do have a lot of really good safeties that's in this draft coming. And if you want to get one for the future, they have a bunch of really good ones in this draft. So that's good. Defensive tackle. We saw some positives from this group after it was last season, rebooted. But the Saints was still too vulnerable against the run, and Brian Bresee was the position's only consistent pass rusher. It might have make more sense to draft another young player to develop next to Bresee than to invest more salary cap dollars in free agent after the Saints signed Shepard and Colin Sanders last year. But at the same time, this is one of the few positions where they aren't paying a high-end veteran. This is true. They brought both Colin Sanders and Nate Shepard here, and I often seen Nate Shepard as a free agent, a defensive tackle. Ultimately, when they drafted Brian Bresee, often seeing him basically as a player that ultimately what would end up occurring is they'll move him. Bresee will play well enough where he would move Nate Shepard to the bench, where he'll basically become a bench guy. That's what I basically seen from that. So, I mean, in the end, we'll see how they all play it, but drafting another defensive tackle, perhaps the Saints need to start drafting and get big guys, big defensive, big nose tackles. That's what I'm talking about. Big guys that can really stop up the run. And Bresee's a pass rusher, but you need a big nose tackle type guy that they need to do. So they got a couple of those two available too that they need to bring and stick in there, man. You need a big nose tackle. They're trying to get some duality by having a defensive tackle that you can move between two places. But at the end of the day, you might want to get a real nose tackle there to help stop that goddamn run, man. So anyway, Bresee is poised to carve out more snaps for himself as he improves in the run defense. The rotation is largely set with Shepard leading the charge and Saunders playing more often in obvious running situations, but there's a good chance that Roach will leave in free agency, which would open up a spot for a newcomer to contribute right away. It's possible that Malcolm Roach, who's doing real good, he got hurt last year, but Malcolm Roach, each year he made a step in progression to get better, and this could be a time where the Saints could do that. But you need some bigger guys there, man, to kind of nose tackle fronts. Number 3 spot, offensive tackle. Both tackle spots are in jeopardy. Trevor Penning has not developed as quickly as he hoped at the left tackle position. Ramchek's degenerate knee condition has put the future in doubt on the right side. Peat emerged as a better option than Penning last year, but he's going to be a free agent when his contract expires on March the 11th. He must sign he says, is he a must sign for free agents for Saints maybe? So, man, the Ramczyk thing off the top, this is one of the biggest needs for the Saints. We're going to talk about the tackle position because Trevor Penning hadn't developed and listen, a lot of people put it on a young guy. Listen, he got some little stuff into it. He got some fault here. But the biggest fault is on the Saints and how they use Trevor Penning. It's on the Saints, and people blast Penning and say he's a potential bust. But where's the goddamn smoke and the fire and the bullets for these coaches that put him in the position to fail. I knew he wasn't going to work at the left tackle position. I said it for years when they drafted the guy and put him there. I said it's not a smart idea to take that guy and put him in that position, because you could tell the difference between a Trevor Penning and when these guys come out of college, guys that you know that can hold that position. That was not Penning. I knew it when they drafted. I said, listen, put that guy to put him in the position to be successful. You don't put him as a blindside tackle. But see, they didn't want to move Ramczyk, which is what they should have did, but they didn't want to put Ramczyk over there because at the time they said he was dealing with knee issues, but they didn't tell you that the knee was as bad as what it is until they telling you right now, because it's become clearly obvious that he can't play on it anymore. You get what I'm getting at? Because this is the thing. You paying Ramczyk a lot of money to be a right tackle. The money position on the offensive line has always been the blind side tackle. If you got a right-handed quarterback, then you have the left tackle is going to be a money position. That guy gets the money because he's going to see the best defensive ends that, the league has to throw at him. He's going to see those guys at that position because those defensive coaches are going to line them up and send the best guys they got from that side because the quarterback can't see him. So whoever you put over there, it got to be the best. But they didn't want to move Ram over there because they knew at the time Ram couldn't compete over there. They thought he would be safer at the right tackle position because they knew the severity of the knee issue, where we did not. Now we do years after the fact because they can't hold it. They can't hide it anymore. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the tackle position is probably the biggest need. Now, we could talk about the skill position. We could talk about Mike Thomas leaving Q. They're going to need a wide receiver and this type of stuff. But you got to look at it. We went in the trenches. That's both lines. Are the Saints settled with those lines? You get what I'm getting at? The offensive line, for the Saints to have the type of success where they're anticipating, they got to keep this guy Carr upright. They got to keep him upright. And you got to make sure you have guys at the left tackle position and the right tackle position to do that. But there are 3 spots here that still, in my opinion, that need to be looked at. It's really only 2 spots going into the season where you can say it's a lock, at the center and at the right guard, because those guys are getting paid, McCoy and Ruiz. But at left guard, Hurst is getting worse and worse, man. And I ain't mean to rhyme with that, but that's the truth. Hurst is not ascending. He's a descending player. I mean, he was solid, played some solid reps, but overall, Hurst is a descending player. He is descending to the point where you got to put him in a hearse and take him on up out of here. So, I mean, at some point, they're going to have to look at least 3 of these offensive positions, whether it's through the draft or through free agency. They're going to have to address it because the line is a big problem. You're not going to be able to do any of this fanciful running stuff that you want to do and these zone runs and all this kind of stuff without the correct offensive lineman to run that scheme. You won't win. We seen what it looked like last year with a half-ass offensive line and not non-inspired offensive line play. We couldn't run the ball, guys running, and it was just not a good look for most of the season, But anyway, the tackle, but the offensive line, I would key that as my top position because Ramczyk is not playing. So who you got, and Ram is supposed to be left tackle. He's supposed to be the blind side tackle. He's not there. So who's your left tackle now? You don't have one. Who's your right tackle? Penning? At some point, you're going to have to find out what the answer is here, and you can't, unless they trade him, they got to see what he's made of. And I'm going to tell you something. Your good offensive line coach can get something out of Penning, but putting him at the left tackle position, put him in a position to fail. And I was saying it at the time, that's stupid for them to put him there because that is very difficult, and he failed miserably to the point where they pushed him all the way down on the active roster. That just kind of wiped out his confidence and everything. To have people coming off the practice squad playing on the team over him. So, I mean, it's not a good look no matter how you look at it. Both spots are in jeopardy. Penning has not developed as quickly as we wanted, while Ramczyk's degenerative knee condition has put his future in doubt on the right side. And like I said, Penning has some blame here, but man, I blame a lot of this on these coaches and on these people. The same people that made these decisions to not have Zach Bowen playing the position that he was drafted to play. Like they had him drop as a drop back linebacker. And then finally, when he got pushed out of his linebacker job by Nephi Sewell, let's just use him as a situational pass rusher. And he excelled. Why? Because that's what he did. We've been knew that. And finally, in the last year of his contract, they said, you know what, let's do it, man. They had success. This stuff this is not quantum physics and astrophysics we talking about. This is football. It's people. It's scouting. You look at what a player does well, and you try to take that and put it into your system. You always take what he does well, You don't try to make him do stuff that they don't do well, in the interest of duality or having versatility. Some players you can't do that with. Some you can, some you can't, and you got to know the difference. When it don't work, abandon it and go back to what works, because you only have a certain amount of time to develop these people before the contract is up, and then they got to move on. So the Trevor Penning thing, I blame a lot of that on those coaches, because I was saying at the time, and so was the rest of the Who Dat Nation, that guy ain't no left tackle. What are you doing? He ain't no left tackle, no blindside tackle. All right, but anyway, Peat emerged as a better option for Penning. Imagine that, right? And I like Andrews Peat a lot. I often defended Andrews Peat, but Andrews Peat was horrible last year. That just goes to show you how bad Penning was. So when the contract expires on March 11th, he is a must-sign free agent for the Saints? Maybe. The introduction of new coaching staff raises so many questions for the group. Will second-year pro Nick Saldiveri be allowed to move back to his college position at right tackle? Or do they want him to continue to focus on his new job at left guard? All this is up in the air. These are great questions, by the way, by John. But all of these questions are up in the air because John Benton might come in and decide, hey, guys, I liked him here and versus this, that, or third. Because Nick Saldiveri could play. He was hurt off and on during the season, so he didn't get much development done in the way of getting out there and playing. But in the end, John Benton could breathe new life into a Trevor Penning. He really could. If you find the correct spot and put him in a position to win and build up his confidence, Trevor Penning had the temperament. His temperament is what the Saints offensive line was lacking last year. I'm talking about that mean disposition, that anger, because it takes an attitude to run block. It takes an attitude. The Saints were milquetoast many games. They didn't have no fire in their belly running the ball. Like I often joked about seeing Cesar Ruiz lost out there, not knowing who to block on pulls and all this kind of stuff. And McCoy being on the ground so much you thought he was a landscaper. I mean, it's crazy. All right, so anyway, can we get more out of Penning than their predecessors? Fascinating to see how these questions are answered, and the first round pick could be a part of the solution. I still say that Trevor Penning is just too much early in his career to call him a bust. But it's easy to just kind of announce him as that and just throw him away, discard him as a bust, or say, yeah, he a bust. Listen, it takes two. It takes two to tangle. Number one, it takes the player to know what he's doing, and it takes the coaches to put him in a situation to succeed. Both failed. I blame more of that on the Saints than I do it on Penning, because the Saints supposed to know better. They supposed to know better where to utilize this guy's strengths, and obviously it wasn't there. Well, you can't predict the future. Everybody's seen that. I seen it. I was calling out, said that was stupid, and look how badly it failed. Left guard position. Hurst was a liability at left guard last year. His backup, Max Garcia, was even worse. Max Garcia was not Max Garcia. He was less Garcia. He was not maximum or max. He was less Garcia. That's how bad he was. There's a better opportunity for free agents or draft picks to step in the lineup here at the tackle position, but it's unlikely the Saints will spend a first-round pick on interior linemen. It would be quite a reach at number 14. Still, they would consider their options, adding more of an experienced free agent who knows Kubiak's offense, like John Feliciano, would make sense. At the same time, team needs to get younger. There are going to be starting quality guards available in the second round, and Saints could land a good one at 45 when they draft. Nick Saldiveri last year trading up to the top of the fourth round for him and moved him to left guard. They probably envision him competing for this job. We'll see if the coaches agree. Good analysis. And right, we're talking about the tackles. You're talking about the guard play. And like I said, 3 spots, realistically speaking, on the Saints offensive line. That's why I put that as the biggest need. Like when I come out with the list, that'll be coming up soon. The biggest needs of the Saints is on top, just a sneak preview for the family members. My top problems or top focus for the Saints should be offensive line. It really is. 3 spots for the Saints offensive line are unresolved, and that's a major problem. 3 spots are unresolved. And now, whether you have the personnel on the team or not, this has to be addressed right, before. I ain't gonna say before, but this is the number one point of emphasis the Saints got to have. Because if you don't have a good offensive line that know what they're doing, all the skilled players that you want to add and all this other stuff going will not happen. Games are lost in one or won and lost in the trenches. And if we have what we had last year coming back around this year, I don't know, man. I don't know. But indeed, like I said, I'm not Hurst is deteriorating. He's deteriorating. Max Garcia don't need to be nowhere not around the Saints facility unless he coming over there to clean windows or take the trash out or do or well wish somebody, or give high fives or say positive words. But outside of that, he should not be putting on a uniform for the New Orleans Saints next year. They need to find somebody else in the depth position, to be honest with you. He was awful. And then the Giants' number one position is defensive end. This is the most concerning position group for the team outside of Granderson. The Saints are either rostering players who are too slow, like Cam, Passanio, or too inconsistent. Peyton Turner, Isaiah Foskey. Great points. The group needs a big injection of talent, but it's already one of the highest paid positions on the team. And that's not like the Saints have tried drafting players or haven't tried drafting players. They keep swinging, missing, and striking out. Let me add that before I finish the commentary, because that's what I was going to say. He knows, because he pay attention to the team like we do, that understands that the defensive end position, a lot of people say, Q, what about the defensive end position? That should be the number one look, because we were on the back end of the league in terms of sacks. And I said, you're right. But you got to understand, the Saints addressed the defensive line last year. They signed 2 new interior defensive linemen in Saunders and Shepard the same day after the same day or hours after they knew that they wasn't bringing back Onyemata and the guy that got King Tut, Shy Tuttle. They let them go in free agency and had Saunders and Shepard already in place. Now, Saunders is a beast. We know how he plays. Shepard is a guy that I thought was a rotational defensive tackle. I didn't think he should have started the entire year. I thought Brian Bresee ultimately will get that job. And Brian Bresee was a good pickup by the Saints. A lot of people, including myself, was looking at his injury history saying, but he proved a lot of people wrong that he can't stay healthy. And not only that, but he had some really great moments in there and showed at points that he was unblockable. So you added 2 starters and a first-round draft pick to the interior, to the defensive line as a whole, interior defensive line, right? Cam is still there. Remember, they gave Cam the extension. They gave Carl Granderson the extension. They extended out Carl Granderson, 8+ sacks this year. Great move. But there's a lot. They invested a lot of money in this current group of players. That's why I was telling the family members that don't look for a Danielle Hunter or no Jared Verse or none of that. I would love to have Jared Verse here, but the Saints, they're not looking at that. I mean, to keep it $150, they spent a lot of money on the collection of guys they have right there right now. And the only position they're looking at is in terms of depth, of adding depth. And not only the free agents, but the Saints also drafted guys. We ain't talking about undrafted guys they bring in. We're talking about draft picks that they still want to see work out, because they don't like it when their draft picks miss out because they get the blame for poorly drafting. So they're going to give Peyton Turner every possibility or every chance to be able to get out there and play. They're going to try to validate him as much as they possibly can. First-round draft pick. And then, of course, you have Isaiah Foskey, who's a second-round pick. So those 2 guys, along with everything they added last year and reworking Cam's contract and all that stuff, like I said, that's why I don't expect them to add a big-name free agent to the mix. It's going to be a guy that'll be, and you still got Passanio there as well. So you're looking at probably another interior defensive lineman there that later on in the draft that they can add, or a veteran they can throw into the mix. Mostly it'll be smart for them to do like a interior defensive lineman. Hopefully it'll be like a nose tackle or something, a guy that you can kind of put in there, rotate in there along with, in the rotation mix to kind of give those guys a spell. But That's why I was saying that won't be a part of the mix, that you probably won't see that happening. Because if you did sign a Danielle Hunter, and if you did sign some of these other guys, or even drafted a verse from Florida State, where are you going to play at? Who you going to move out the way to put him? Well, we're going to sit Cam down, Q. They're not going to do that, bro. They're not going to move Cam out the way to put Danielle Hunter there. And then it's a question of money. A lot of these guys want big money. So you're going to sign them to sit them and sit Cam, who making guaranteed money. It won't happen, bro. The numbers don't work. The personnel don't work. And the Saints mentality will kick that out every time. They're not going to bring anybody in there that's of starter caliber to challenge these guys. They're not. They believe in what they have, right or wrong, and they're going to stick to it because they've already committed draft picks and money to the situation. And that's my take on it. So anyway, all right, it's very tempting to go back to the draft with different perspective, changing the focus from heavy set and undeveloped talents in favor of proven commodities who will win the technique and athleticism. That might be the best path forward. At the same time, the Saints could throw money at the problem until it goes away. The question is whether they can outbid their competition for the free agent who fits the bill. So yes, indeed. So he's talking about overall, but that's in terms of the defensive end position. I do not see that happening, but shout out to John Ziegler, man. This is a wonderful article and it give good stats. And I see a lot of it the same way. I see it a lot of it the same way. Now, I don't agree with the order, but I get where he's coming from. My biggest change would be offensive line, whether you want to call it the tackle, because you're unresolved at bookends. The offensive line, you got $150 million quarterback overall standing back there. You got two starters that you know for certain are going to be there in the center McCoy and the right guard Cesar Ruiz. Now, in terms of the everywhere else is unresolved. Your tackles are missing. Who's the left tackle? We don't know. Who's the right tackle? We don't know. Who's your left guard? James Hurst. Do you really want James Hurst as a left guard? No, not really. I would prefer Hurst to be a reserve lineman, because at this stage of his career, he falling through the flow faster than I ain't gonna he falling through the damn flow faster than I don't know a 10 million pound chain ball broken off the wrecker, man. I'm gonna tell you, it's just not gonna work. But I do see that as the biggest change. Let me see if I can get an unofficial depth chart here so I can kind of show the family members what we're looking at here in terms of. Hold on, fam. Let me get up one for you here. Here it is right here. All right, this unofficial depth chart right here by our lads who do this type of stuff. So you can see right here, the offensive line right here. You see Andrews Peat there, and then Hurst, and then you see McCoy, Ruiz, and that's Ram right there. And that's what I was saying, that you got Derek Carr sitting back there. Like it or love it, like it or not, he's your starting quarterback for the next several years, right? You got to protect him. You don't have two starting level offensive tackles. Ryan Ramczyk is not going to play next year. Might not ever play in his career again. That's how bad the knee is. Andrews Peat is not the answer. So at some point, they're going to have to address both. They don't have no choice. They got to address either one of these moves. Now, a right tackle position could be Trevor Penning, or perhaps he could be the left guard. Even though he hadn't played left guard before, but John Benton will have to decide on all this, and this will be a big sticking point to this whole damn thing. It's who do they get on the offensive line to get it together? That'll be the biggest thing right there. All right. So anyway, I think that's what it is. And fam, feel free to throw any questions in the comment section, man. I'm sorry I was going through these articles, but yeah, that's all the articles I got for y'all today, man, on some of this stuff. So y'all feel free to kind of throw any questions that y'all might have in the comment section, and I'll try to answer them as I'm getting ready to kind of jump on out this thing. All right. All right. All right. So let me see here. All right. Let's see, brother James. What's up, James? How you doing, bro? Says Q, I think Ramczyk's trying to bow out, in my opinion. Watch what I say. I think that he says, I think there's him and other players finding a way to preserve themselves and move on. They're not with the DA Loomis thing. Well, I mean, that could very well be, bro, but the injury, I mean, he wants to play. He got that big fat contract. So I don't doubt what you're saying, because there is a split in the locker room. They might pretend like they don't like it, but there's definitely a split in the locker room of of what's happening with the team. And there are guys that's on the other side with Dennis Allen. There's guys that's not with Dennis Allen. This is the truth. Ricky says everyone get ready for a down year because it will take a while for Carr to learn a new system, and the offensive line will need to gel, and DA will get a new contract. All right, shout out to you, Ricky. I don't know, bro. That's kind of a. I don't know if I agree with that, because it's not like they can keep selling Dennis Allen to you over and over again. We at the point where this is the third year. If they don't get them to the playoffs, that makes no sense for Mickey Loomis to go to the podium and try to sell Dennis Allen to you for a year beyond this year. It's either playoffs or bust, and they understand that they can't protect him any longer. They can't. So I mean, I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be a down year, but I don't know how fast Derek Carr takes the system. I really don't. I mean, the Sean Payton system for many results was supposed to be a doable system. I remember seeing backup quarterbacks excel in Sean Payton's system. And Derek Carr is supposed to be a 10-year veteran that has experience in multiple offensive systems. It took him almost the entire year up to the last month of the season to figure it out. And I was like, man, it was just. But then again, also, I don't fault him for all of it, because once again, his coach is putting players in positions to win. Early on in the season, if they was running the ball correctly, the Saints could have taken wins away. They could have had the Green Bay win. Had they were better at running the ball, they could have ran the clock out. They was up by 17 to nothing with 11 minutes remaining. So I mean, it's like it's coaches putting their guys in positions to win. That's what it comes down to. And that just didn't happen, man. It happened over and over again, and all we got was a bunch of excuse letting by Mickey Loomis and others, man, when we criticize his people. He don't like when you criticize people because he think he right all the time. And nobody right all the time, man. That's just how I go. And you got to evaluate, but he don't do no evaluating. He don't do evaluatings during the season. He said that. He said a lot of stupid ass stuff that people disagree with, which I was like, dude, they might have done that like back in the day, but most general managers, they always in this constant state of evaluating. If not a daily, weekly basis, they always look into how they can improve upon their team, how they can build up this area, that area. And nobody's that blind to what's going on in there. And you're supposed to be watching over people. You're supposed to understand when a guy's over his head or not, to step in and help him out. Everybody could use that. And he didn't do it. He let him sink and burn. And then when he sank and burned, he just sit up there and made a bunch of damn excuses. That's right, Slim. Negative noise. When people was criticizing, we wasn't even criticizing the fool. We was telling them, hey, bro, listen, this is going wrong. This is going wrong. And you were telling them what was on the tape. These people don't watch no tape. Or either they're incredibly ignorant or foolish, or a combination of all three of those things. Because all we was telling you was on the tape. How you watching the tape and don't see he's looking over half the field? How you see the tape and see him staring down wide receivers? That's not right to do that. Who was supposed to? Oh, my bad. I'm not going to do that. He bust that Urkel on you. So I mean, in the end, all I can say is, man, I want this team to excel. I really do. But at the same time, it's going to take more than well wishing to get them there. These people have to know what the errors and issues are and fix them. And a lot of times, talent ain't always the issue with these teams. A lot of times, it's not the issues with these teams. A lot of times, it's who you have as a head coach. And is he an accountable dude? Is he doing what he's supposed to do? Is he handling the business? Is he staying on top of these goddamn players? Is he making things work? Is he having a good game plan? Is all this kind of stuff? Are you making these guys accountable? Are you and that's something that I know they're not doing. And then when the off season hits, you'll see all the noise about who they draft, who they sign. But we always have an issue translating from the off season into the end season and taking the people that they added to the team and then put them into the team in a productive and efficient manner, which leads to wins. We don't see that, especially under Dennis Allen. But he done burn who he's supposed to burn. He only had a card to play, and he burned Pete Carmichael. He burned most of the guys on the offense. Well, that pretty much said that the reason why we failed was the offense. I didn't see one defensive guys get his issue. Did you? I didn't see any defense. I'm just speaking about it, man. You know, we the great same think tank. Did anybody out there see any defensive people get their issue? Did they get cut and fired? Nobody from the defensive side got cut and fired. So it was blamed on the offense. The reason why we failed is because the offense, which was led by Derek Carr, his guy he picked, he fired all of the guys, which Doug Marrone should have got it first. They fired Cody Burns. They fired, the running back coach smartly moved on to another team. He took a bump in pay and did the same thing with the Giants. And they basically cleaned house of all of the other guys, except for, Clancy Barone and a few other assistant coaches. But outside of that, the offense got the blame for why the Saints didn't succeed in 23. He don't have any more cards to play. You can blame the offense all you want. You done fired Pete Carmichael. He's out the door. Now it's on Dennis Allen to win now. See, he don't have anybody else left. And he's undercover. He doesn't have any more places he can run and hide. There's not any more holes for the weasels to run around and hide in. There's nothing else. He's in full view of everything. And so is Mickey Loomis. There is no more era of that he can run to or places he can run to protect Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen's on Front Street right now. And everybody's looking, okay, you did this is the second year you got this dude. And there is no trying to tell you that we need to be patient because the offense, that and the third, is none of that. You need to get the team into the playoffs this year, this third year. 3 years of non-playoff football under Dennis Allen should result in him getting fired. If not, like I said, the people need to keep their pressure on, stay on the square and stay on code. That's the big part of how we change the world. Stay on code. Don't remember what I told y'all. I have to keep reiterating it, but it is what it is. Jack says, he said he also took Carl longer to figure out because the first half of the season he got injured pretending to go through his progression. Jack, you said that before. That he pretended to go. You used the word pretend. And I remember going, and I went back in my mind. I even looked at some tape of Carr. And how do you pretend to go through your progressions? Well, you know how you pretend? And this was spot on, and I give you credit for saying pretend, because he'll look left for a split second and turn right and throw the ball. Usually you can tell, a guy who's good at processing things very fast. And he would look to the left and then turn into wherever he was going. You see what I'm saying? And it was not like he was doing the look motion to the left and pump fake there to freeze the safeties, but he would just look and then turn, to the side. So yeah, pretending to go, that's something else, man. That is something else. But I give you credit for that because the tape does reflect that. It does reflect that. He said you could tell. Yeah. You're right. If you look at the tape, you can see, because it's not a stare. He's not looking. He glances and then turns and looks somewhere else. Yes, indeed. But see, the problem was, we said this early on, that people got fooled by the preseason game where he had the one series where he did really well on. But that went away very fast once we got into the rest of the year. You kind of seen how everything kind of deteriorated. But the problem is, like I said, we can blame Carr for a lot of it, man. But listen, I'm going to blame Dennis Allen and the Saints offense because, listen, where was the running attack during those periods when we knew that he didn't know that system that well? And we knew that the offensive running game would have to be relied upon to move the ball to set up the play action for whatever little plays that he did know. It was absent. It was notably absent. And I often was saying during these games, this guy doesn't know enough of the offense to carry the Saints to a win. And he didn't. He did some positive here or there, but you can tell that he was struggling. And then he was getting his ass kicked out there. He was getting slammed in the ground because he don't have no clock in his head. Like, yeah, clock, yeah, Q, he got beat up pretty good. Well, bro, listen. Drew Brees was the biggest teacher, and Drew got it from somebody else, but Drew was the biggest teacher of teaching quarterbacks or living through the mindset of having a clock in your head. A clock means 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and get rid of the ball. You don't have all day to stand up there in that goddamn pocket. You're supposed to have that clock going on. You go through your progressions. You go through, you span your progressions, and then get rid of the ball. Even if you don't see something, you check it down, or if you see a little green, you take off, slide, do something. But oftentimes you see that guy stand back there all day thinking he has all day, and then a guy will come and knock the ball out of his hand. A guy will come and knock him on the ground. He if he has a clock in his head, it's very slow. It's very slow. And that's something that he has to learn. And he has Drew Brees' goddamn phone number. I shouldn't have to tell him that. You got Drew Brees' number. You know Drew Brees. Go pick his mind and tell him, go pick his brain and tell him, Drew, how do I get rid of the ball? Well, work on your internal clock. Drew, all these lessons Drew taught to the family members over the last many years that he was as a quarterback. He would literally envision himself in games at practice. There was nobody there in the practice field but Drew Brees. He would have an entire game in his head out there throwing the ball to pretend wide receivers. He would visualize the entire games. That's when you know you want it. That's when you know you want to be great and you want to win. When you do stuff like that, I guarantee you Derek Carr is not the first dude in the building and the last dude out the building. I'm more than sure. I can guarantee you that. Because if he was, you probably would have seen a lot better version of him this year. And also, another critique to Derek Carr is he needs to look at himself and really pick apart his minuses. We know he got a good arm to throw the ball deep. His accuracy was kind of messed up because he's saying he had all these injuries and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is he needs to get rid of the ball better. He needs to see the field better. And it's a lot of stuff that Carr needs to work on in his game plan. But listen, it is a lot of pressure for Clint Kubiak to take Derek Carr and, listen, pun intended, to unlock Carr so that he can get to the next level. Because it's all depending on how fast Derek Carr pick up the system. And also how fast the Saints can get a running attack to balance with Carr so we move forward. Because you got to give Carr a whole new system for him to learn and pick it up in a desperate year. So even more pressure has been added to him for this upcoming year. And we see last year he didn't handle the pressure all that well. So he can't even rely on it and say, well, last year was a learning year, but this year he got it. He figured it out at the end of the year. By golly, we're going to be fine. Well, no, we're not, because we're about to change the system. For the first time in 20 years, we're about to go through an entire offensive system that not only he has to learn, but his entire team. So you got guys like Elvin Kamara. You got all these other guys that's playing that was under Sean Payton's system for years. Guess what? They're going to have to figure out how to run Clint Kubiak's system. So everybody's going to be learning. So once again, it puts another layer of stress on Derek Carr again. And how does he handle it? We shall see indeed. We shall see. All right, shout out to you. Ultimate Streams, how you doing, sir? I'm sorry, Q, but once a weasel. Always a weasel. Let him hope he okay, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. You gonna see that weasel on display. You really are. Hemisphere, how you doing, fam? Says clarity. They committed to Carr, so anyone in the locker room not on board Carr, they're going to get traded or cut. Just don't think Carr's that good for QB. If they do that, they are fools, because you have a good core of players here, and the best way to, if these guys are not in there literally cussing at Dennis Allen and tripping him as he walks by and just hitting him with pies in the face and doing ridiculous stuff like that, then they should be left alone, because they have the right to their opinion, because Dennis Allen didn't do anything. You shouldn't, he has some players you win over, and some, you won over, and some guys you got to win over. You win over the rest of the guys by winning, by running a competent team, not by pushing out or exiling people that disagree with Dennis Allen's philosophy or don't like him. A lot of those guys, I've said this before, a lot of those guys in the locker room came from winning programs that had real coaches there, that knew, really good college coaches that were winning championships. You had Ohio State guys there. Y'all know what time it is with Ohio State. You had guys in some of these places that came from really good programs that had college, like Hall of Fame level coaches, or really good coaches that kind of gave them the game. And then when they get to the NFL, or they get a guy that's not a good coach, they could tell the difference. You could, like I could, they could tell. They know what's lacking and missing, just like knowing what's lacking and missing. It'll be a fool's chore and errand for them to get rid of guys that don't like Dennis Allen, unless there's not guys in there just verbally, berating Dennis Allen and calling him a weasel to his face and all this kind of stuff, and making Mickey Loomis voices when Mickey come by and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" Stuff like that. Like what I would be doing, man. Leave them guys alone and try to win them. You're trying to win them by winning. You get what I'm saying? See, I wouldn't make it. I'd be like, "Oh, hey there, Mickey. How you doing? Oh, I know. I can tell you something. Clam chowder, that type of shit." I wouldn't be able to make it. All right, the professor, I agree with you, Q, about Dennis Allen. Dennis is not ready for prime time. We've given him 3 years. 9 playoff years is not going to work. All right, Ramsey, shout out to you, Ramsey. How you doing, sir? Says, I hope Carr has listened to this. Bro, listen. Derek Carr, I want you to succeed. And I've been mentioned as a stern critic of Derek Carr. But listen, the reality is I want to win. People say, well, Q, this, that, and the third. I don't do anything blindly. I'm sorry. I just not how I operate. I don't do anything blindly. But what I'm saying in terms of the Saints is I'm a results guy. I want to see results. I want to see results from the team. I want the team to succeed. Even if Dennis Allen's a head coach, I do want him to succeed, because if he succeeds and he gets the team to the playoffs, that means that he's improving as a coach, because that's something he never did before. Now, he won 9 games last year, but that don't count because it didn't happen in the playoff year. We didn't get to the playoffs, so 9 wins, which is a career best for him, is not nothing for us, because you have a team that is good enough to be a playoff team, and you're losing stupidly because your coach is not competent enough to keep his staff on code and to keep his players on code. It all flows through Dennis Allen. I don't want to hear anything about Pete Carmichael because Dennis Allen picked him. I don't hear anything about Derek Carr suffering because Dennis Allen picked him. You see how it all goes back to Dennis Allen? The choices were made by Dennis Allen. It's all his setup. And the power was given to him by Mickey Loomis, who called him a great coach. And I don't know what measurement of great he's using, but no great in any reality or any Marvel reality it would consider Dennis Allen a great coach at any level. He hadn't done anything. Hemisphere says, what's even more concerning to me is that they're willing to trade Lattimore, but then again, right, that's asinine. I don't think they should, but I hear what you're saying. I look at all the good players Saints have over the years was let go. No shocking to me. Yeah, we have to do this. But I want Carr to succeed. But making excuses, and what excuses he's making, Q, he makes a ton of excuses. We played all of his press conference here. He gives a bunch of word salad. He runs on people. Usually you got to watch out when people start giving you word salad. Word salad is a clear method of just sinking you into a zombie-like sleeping stage. When people start giving word salad, they start rambling on word salad. I call Michael Thomas. Y'all know how I used to bust the Derek Carr's listening too much. I was like, man, I done figured this dude's cadence out. I called Mike and I told Mike, we're gonna do this. He said, okay, cool. So I got on the phone with Rashid. I said, she, look, took a picture of butterfly. I sent it to him. I said, listen, we can be miraculous like this beautiful butterfly. And he sent back and said, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I told him, say, I said, we great. We could be great. Then I turned around, I sent it to Elvin. Elvin said, can you take that butterfly wings? Can you turn it in and make it polka dot? So I got on my phone, did that, made the butterfly wings purple, sent it back to him. He said, send that to Jimmy. Jimmy likes airplanes, so I reached out, I FaceTime Jimmy. What you doing? Said, I'm chilling, about to go on this boat. Can we go? Say, man. And that's what he does. And I'm like, dude, what has this got to do with anything? But it's a topic that he just goes off on and just gives you word salad. The reality is, listen, Carr's problem is he's a good, and I ain't gonna say it's a multitude of different things, but the biggest detriment to him is the fact that he doesn't progress well. He doesn't go through his progressions patiently. He doesn't have a clock in his head, and these things are all fixable. But how is he going to fix it if they don't even recognize it as a problem? How are you fixing things that if you don't even know if they're broken or not? That's the point. Like when we talk about Dennis Allen, what makes Dennis Allen a bullshit coach? What makes him a garbage coach? Because he lacks certain things. He lacks attention to detail. He lacks a strong presence. He's indecisive, which is people don't like indecisive people. When he's sitting at the press conference talking, he comes off as very indecisive, very indecisive. You know, and you see when he goes into these games, it's just everything is just off. And that's what I'm saying about Dennis Allen's game, that he needs to improve, that he doesn't have some of these intangibles. You think he recognized that he doesn't have? He think he has everything he needs. I made it to be a coach, and you didn't, Q. Well, that's because you're part of the good old boy circle. I ain't in the good old boy circle. You got Sean Payton vouching for you to become a head coach. Because if Sean Payton didn't vouch for you, you wouldn't have got that head coaching job. You got one with the Raiders. Yeah, credit to you getting that job. You blew it, and you shouldn't have got a second chance. But Sean Payton spoke up for him, and Mickey Loomis listened to him, and that's how he got the job. It's not because he did anything miraculous. He didn't. He didn't have a resume. The Saints interviewed several different coaches, and each one of those guys had better resumes in terms of, some of them had previous coaching experience. Some of them had Super Bowl rings on their resume. That was better than Dennis Allen. And they chose with Dennis because Dennis was the guy that Sean Payton told him to pick. It's as simple as that. But he's lacking, just like Pete Carmichael was lacking certain intangibles that made him respectable, that would have given him the ability to champion an offense. He lacked those things. Now listen, he's a good defensive coordinator, but that's just about it. When it comes down to being a coach, it takes more than the skill set a defensive coordinator has. Because as a head coach, you have to have certain communication ability. You got to be able to know how to talk to different people. That's part of that communication thing. You have to be indecisive. I mean, you have to be decisive. You have to be able to know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. You have to make people accountable. If people step off code, you got to have a punishment in place or some kind of way you take time away from them. If they false start in practice, there has to be a threat over their head that they can lose their job or, whatnot. And if you're taking reps from them, that impacts their money. Because a lot of times the contracts are written based on playing production, the playing time. So if they are messing up, you're supposed to be able to use that. That's within your power to be able to get them on code. Not if they're out there dropping balls, blowing blocks, that you keep them out there and keep rolling the same personnel out there. Now, he made a few changes on some of the stuff with Alontae Taylor, but that was far and few in between. But that's what I'm saying. We will change the look of the team, but what does Dennis Allen learn? Does he learn to be a better head coach going this? Once again, the same shit I've been asking since he got here, is the stuff that makes you great. Is he learning that? Is he reading books from Mike Krzyzewski and all these other coaches? All of them got our books now, how to be a champion. Krzyzewski, all these other guys, all these champion basketball or football, whatever. All these people have books about how they did such and such and all this. Go back to John Wooden from back in the day. He got books out. So you look at some of these writers or people on some of these NFL shows, you look behind them, they got a bookshelf. They got books with some of these books from some of these great people and how they were able to excel at a high level. They tell you in the book what they do. Is he reading any of that? You see what I'm saying? How serious is it? Do you because he has to have that in his head to do it. And I don't know if he does. Now, he did get 9 wins this year because his team was super talented in a non-talented division. This was a very weak NFC South. The NFC overall, when the schedule the Saints was given, was relatively soft. If you couldn't get 9 wins there, you are a fool. But in the end, like I said, try that shit this year and see how it looks. Because a lot of these other teams that we've seen from last year, man, these people have really found out what they need to do, and they're really stepping on it to make sure they win this upcoming year. So it's going to be a lot more difficult than what it was this last year. So, but like I said, man, Card, that's the thing. It's too much coddling going on. You can't coddle these guys. If they're making mistakes and people are calling it out, you got to call it out too and say, that's true. He is staring at one side of the field too much. We have to stop him from doing that. He was staring at the guy, wide receiver, and didn't even scan behind him to see where the safety was in the Atlanta game and threw the pick 6. He stared the guy down. It was easy pickings. The guy read his eyes all the way to the ball to the pick 6. You're a 10-year veteran quarterback. You're supposed to know not to stare people down. You're supposed to know to go through your progressions. If you're doing that kind of stuff, it needs to be corrected. Will Clint Kubiak fix it? I most sincerely hope he does, because there is no success with that kind of style of football. There isn't. He's easily broken down. That's why he didn't get that playoff win. That's why he don't have deep playoff trips. And we know how bad the Raiders were. But at the end of the day, the Saints should have been a playoff team. I'm not putting it all on Carr's shoulders. I'm putting a lot of that on Dennis Allen and the Saints. But in the end, man, you can't have a serious flaw like a quarterback that makes $150 million who don't go through his progressions and is sitting there staring one side of the field down while guys are running free on the other side. That is, and if you watch the tape, they're supposed to be watching the tape. I don't see how he looking at the tape and don't acknowledge the fact that I was staring this guy down. I need to stop staring people down because this man was running either wide open on the right side or he didn't have safety support. He was one-on-one with a cornerback. That's on me. I got to fix that. Somebody got to make him stop doing that for them to have success. That's all I'm saying. All right, thank you, bro. Dennis said he had it long enough to show he can't win this. He said Dennis Allen has had long enough to win to show he can or he can't win. This is his first rodeo. At what point do you cut bait? Yeah, it's this year. This is year 3, bro. This is year 3. There is no more excuses, bro. This is year 3. How many? This is the NFL, bro. Not for long, right? Even though the Saints operate like a mafia family, I really mean that too, because it's not ran like a real business. I mean, it's ran like a mafia group. Like guys ain't even keeping anybody accountable. Mickey Loomis does whatever he wants. I don't care how long he's been there or what he contributed. That's not supposed to be the case. You're not supposed to be sitting up there holding position and decide, well, I'll go when I'm ready. No. You've been failing with these drafts for the last several years. You made an awful choice on his head coach, and it stinks. Where is his boss at? That's how I'm telling you. This is not ran like a real business. It's not. It's not ran. It's ran like an old crooked mafia family. It really is. You know, it really is. Because Mickey Loomis should not be allowed to hold both positions, especially when you got Kai and these other guys that are younger, and more progressive minded, have the better feel of today's NFL game. There's no reason why Mickey Loomis should still be holding that general manager position. He has the vice president tag. Let him keep that. Let him keep that job and give the other one to, you see what I'm saying? Where is his boss at? And it's not like he doing something so great that he deserves to keep both of them. I don't care about past reputation. All I know is for 3 years straight, the Saints have not made the playoffs. That's all I care about. I'm on my Janet Jackson shit right now. What have you done for me lately? Maybe I just need to make that a sample and start playing that, bust that Janet Jackson on the ass. Because that's the bottom line. That's what I'm on. I don't care about your rep or what you did 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. I care not about that. All I care about is what's been happening now. And you've been failing lately. Living off a rep, that's over with. We're not allowing you to live off a reputation anymore because your reputation ain't what it used to be. It really isn't. So, I mean, he shouldn't be allowed. But that's what I'm saying. There's no accountability at the highest realms of the team. So why would I not expect it to be at the head coach? If you are non-accountable president of football operations, and then you're a non-accountable vice president and general manager, then why would I not think your stupid ass coach would be non-accountable too? All of a sudden it will change. Accountability would change when it gets to the coach. No, non-accountability because nobody wants to do what they're supposed to do, which is making sure everybody else that is below them are doing their job. And that includes Gail. Gail has been an owner for the last several years, and she needs to have, and I'm just going to keep it real. Gail got Benson's people. Gail need to bring in somebody trusted from the outside that's not a part of that circle and have them to advise her on what's really going on. That's what Gail needs to do. For real. Gail need to bring somebody else that's separate from the culture that New Orleans has in there to personally advise and give her the real game about what's going on with this team. That's what Gail needs to do. But will she? I don't know. You know, it is what it is. All right. 6 to 8 games. Show me something next year. If you ain't got that, the Saints in some kind of contention, then he got to go. I hear you, bro. It's a lot of stuff going on with that, man. All right. What's up, Black Dollars? How you doing, sir? Appreciate you. All right. He said, I don't think we're going to have a great season. We have a very tough schedule next season. Mickey Loomis and Dennis Allen are done. I want them to succeed. I really do, because I want the team to win. We haven't been in the playoffs in 3 years. And it'll be a rough, I ain't going to say it's a rough year. It'll be a truthful year. How about that? Because whatever The truth is, we'll know if we're wrong and Mickey Loomis is right. There is a slim chance Mickey Loomis could be right here. That Dennis Allen might turn into a coach that take your team to a playoff run, a couple of games into the playoffs. Hell, there's a slim chance that could happen. Is Mickey Loomis right on Dennis Allen? There's a slim chance this could be, but by whatever the case may be, if this upcoming year, we will see how it all ends up. It's a truth year. That's how I'm looking at it. It's the truth year. All things, all of the lies, all that's going to be kicked out, and the truth is going to shine bright on whether or not what kind of dude this is. Y'all got y'all ideas, and I'll go with you on it. Travis says, salute to the black and gold gang where the VP and head coach eat out of the same damn BS pot of soup. Indeed, bro. Yes, I've said this before, man. They're ran like an old mafia family. They are. There is no accountability. No accountability. None whatsoever. Dennis Lucia is the president of football operations. I don't know what football Dennis Lucia knows. I don't know if he ever played football before. I don't know why is he the president of football operations here. I don't know why. Only thing I know is he's a businessman. I don't know if he knows football or not. And Mickey is underneath him. And the only one that could check Mickey Loomis is Dennis Lucia, who's the president of football operations for the Saints and for the Pelicans. So I don't know if he's checking any of these guys. If he's going or doing any evaluations on these guys, more than likely he's not. He's not doing any evaluations on these guys because he has the power to say, Mickey, we're going to keep you as the VP. We're going to detach the general manager. It's not a disrespect to take the general manager tag away from Mickey Loomis. He's getting up in age. Let him be a vice president and get somebody that's younger to run the general manager duties. Somebody that has a vision, somebody that does evaluations during the season. Mickey Loomis doesn't do evaluations during the season. He said that because he's too emotional. I'm too emotional. I don't care what you're saying, Q. I don't do that. I'm not going to do it. I don't do emotion. I don't do evaluation during the season. I'm going to tell you why. I ain't doing it because I'm too emotional. He said that. I'm joking and making a stupid voice, but he said that. Put one in the chat if y'all remember him saying he don't do evaluations on his own team during the year because he's too emotional. Whether it's a win or a loss, he's too emotional, so he doesn't do any evaluations until the season over. Put one in the damn chat if you heard him say that. He said that. What general manager of a football team don't do evaluations on his team during the year when it counts, but then want to give a pep talk after the year over with? You think they care about whether or not Mickey Loomis talks to him at the end of the goddamn year? The year's over with. Where was the pep talk when the team needed it? And then, of course, shout out to Cat. Cat asked him the question. And he asked him a question about Mickey, ask him about what he said to the players at the end of the season, a little meeting he had with them. Because she said, because you really don't have any interaction with players during the season. She said that. You know what Mickey says? Well, that's between me and them. That's between me. He didn't deny the fact that he didn't have any contact with the players. Mickey Loomis don't even talk to the players, man, during a year. He doesn't do any evaluation. What kind of general manager we got here? I'm the only one talking like this, man, because I'm bringing truth to power here. I'm telling you, there's some foolishness. We need a real general manager that engages with the players and the coaches during the season when change can be made to make things pop. And then at the end of the season, we have the end of season press conference where Dennis Allen comes out and says he's pissed. Are we serious here? You're pissed? You're pissed? Where was your pissment, if that's a real word? If it's not, I'm coining it, during the damn season when it could have made a difference. Where was it? Why weren't you pissed enough to make changes at the offensive the offensive line coach level? Take the guy out, put Jari in, do something. Where was it? See, and they don't have any answers. They don't like that line of questioning because it exposes them to another light that shows you they're not who they're not who you think they are. That's why I keep telling y'all, Mickey Loomis is not a real general manager. I've been saying that to y'all all damn season long. I've been saying he's not a real general manager because real general managers do evaluations during the year when it matters. They talk to their players. That would also explain why Jameis Winston and Dennis Allen got into that little situation where he came out to the press and said he was backstabbing. The one person he could have went up the rung to, maybe he could have went to Kai. Kai will say, listen, bro, you might want to go take that to Mickey because Mickey, my boss, I don't want to get in trouble. But Mickey got his door closed. Mickey don't have any interaction with the players. You don't talk to them. That's what they said. So, I mean, what kind of general manager this is that don't keep a thumb or a hand on his team to keep their pulse to find out what's going on here? But then we'll come out his room from eating clam chowder and drinking orange juice to come out and spin a bunch of fucking excuses about why Dennis Allen's a great coach and why Dennis Allen should be considered in the same breath as Bill Walsh and all these other great coaches, Bill Belichick and all these people. He'll come out of his office to tell a bunch of BS to you and spew a bunch and start stat prattling, but never to give you the real, never to talk the truth, never to get in front of people that will really question them. That lets you know these people are not who they believe, because you talk to a guy like me, you put me in front of you, I'm going to expose you because I want to know the real. You know, I want to know what's really going on here. So in the end, man, like I said, man, they got a little collection of people, and at the end of the day, that's what we talking about. And I'm just giving you their words, man. I couldn't make this up. Ava says, from Carr's comments on MT struggling but not being the number one wide receiver, maybe thinks he needs to throw to his number one. That's why he's stuck. And see, that's the whole thing. Instead of saying, listen, man, he could have ate that, because he a true leader wouldn't do that. A true leader would come out and take the arrows for his team, whether he's right or wrong. He will blame himself for it. He'll blame a true leader. No, even Jameis Winston does that. And Jameis could have a good game and the team could lose, and Jameis would say, that's my fault. I should have done better. I should have did this better. And I'll give Jameis that. He ain't perfect, but I would give Jameis that. Jameis would fall on his sword for his team. That's why them guys love him, because he would take blame for stuff that ain't even his fault. He would take possession of the blame to keep his offensive guys clean and the whole team. That's why people got love for him. This other guy you got here, this guy would throw everybody under the bus because he don't want to take that pressure. He want the money, but he don't want the burden and the pressure that comes with it. You didn't have to say that about Michael Thomas. Well, Michael Thomas was the one that was recruiting him to come here. So I guess what, Mike, next time do your research on the people's characters who you promoting, bro, before you decide that you want to bring them on up in here. Next time, do a little bit more research. You got money, do a background check. Jack says Loomis also splitting time trying to help the state get out of the budget crisis due to spread. Really? Come on, bro. That's this dude trying to help the state of Louisiana get out of this. The same dude that got his team currently over $30 million or $36 million in the red. He gonna try to help the state of. You can't make it up, boy. Keep Mickey Loomis away from your books as far as you can, man. Travis says GM demands respect, love, and communication from his players and everyone else in the organization. You got to appease them. Derek says, what's up, Derek? Says Breeze could 500+ yards and blames himself for a lost car, throws a pick six, staring down wide receivers. And when the media astutely called it out, what Dennis Allen did, he coddled him. He said, we lose as a team. But then when Carr had a good game in the back of the year, how about Derek Carr? See, the hypocrisy is ridiculous, but see a garbage time personality or a flimsy person that's off code to do hypocrisy, these backstabby or hypocritical things. They'll do that. And they don't even see the difference in the hypocrisy of what they just did. They don't even notice it. And they don't care to notice it. That you can't say when he picks sixes it that we lose as a team, but then when he has a good game, how about Derek Carr? That's hypocritic like a mug, dog. That's a state of hypocrisy right there. You can't do that. You got to keep it a buck across the board, and that's a problem with him. He can't do that because he's not cut from that kind of cloth. So anyway, but overall, I want to see the team succeed, but to get to that level, fam, accountability, attention to detail, same thing we've been saying. Are they going to bring that this year? How is Dennis Allen going to improve as a coach this year? Said it last year and the year before that, because that's instrumental. He has to improve as a head coach for the team to improve to get to the next level. He has to be a better attention to detail guy. He has to be more on his players. He has to have to hold them to more of a higher level of accountability. He has to hold himself to a higher level of accountability. He has to have a serious code that he follows and stay on at all times. If guys are false starting or doing things they're not supposed to do, they're supposed to have a code in place to Check them on that. You get what I'm saying? There has to be something that he adopts. Will he adopts? I don't think so. I don't know. Clint Kubiak comes in here. It's not the answer to everything, even though I do like their system. We had a pretty good system that left out of here. We had the system for 20 years. It couldn't have been a bad system. I mean, you just needed to get the right person to run the system. You needed a guy that had some balls, that had some leadership ability. You didn't need a milquetoast Mickey Mouse character like Pete Carmichael. You needed somebody that had some force, some oomph, some strength in his voice. He was schematically, he knew what he was, he knew Sean's style, but it takes pizzazz, flair. It takes some guts, some heart, some ferocity, some balls to run that type of system. Any system, if it's worth anything, you can't be milquetoast like Pete Carmichael was and not holding anybody accountable, not forcing guys to do what they're supposed to do, not checking guys when they're supposed to be checked, like Derek Carr and others. So, I mean, like I said, Clint Kubiak comes from what I know, but I've studied up on him and watched on interviews and stuff like that. He seems like he's pretty serious about that situation. But the key to it is finding the offensive line, the correct offensive line pieces to get the running attack going. And then secondly, the biggest part of it is Derek Carr. He has to make Carr see a system, and also he has to stop him from doing all of this bad stuff like that, staring down one side of the field. Bro, that I've watched in college, the quarterback from Tulane, Michael Pratt from Tulane, he doesn't do that. Jaden Daniels, we got quarterbacks in college that don't stare people down, bro. Seriously. You watch the tape on some of these guys, even you watch CJ Stroud play for the Texans last year. He would cycle the field. This is a rookie. This guy been in here for 10 years getting away with this. 10 years in the NFL getting away with staring people down. He can't get away with it no more because New Orleans, we're not going to play that, man. Staring people down. They got to fix that, bro. That's the first big thing. You got to get him to progress through his cycle. And then you got to get him to have a clock in his head to know that you can't stand back there for all that time. You got to be able to, you got a certain period of time to span the field, go through the progressions. If you don't see what you like, check it down. You can run and pick up a few yards. If you got a little green, do that. But at the same time, you got to have a clock. You can't stand back there taking sacks and think you got forever. That just some kind of way they got to figure it out, fam. Some kind of way. But anyway, I really do wish that we get to the window. Ava says from car comments on MT struggle. Yeah, well, I already read that one. Thank you, bro. All right. So anyway, listen, you cornball. All right. So anyway, I hope you kidding on this one, Jack. Talking about he helping the state with the budget crisis. Boy, that needs to be a story within itself. Mickey Loomis, a perpetual dude that keeps this guy perpetually kicks the can down the road, and they got Mickey Loomis trying to help the state of Louisiana out of its budget crisis. Am I living in some weird alternate reality? That makes no sense. This guy ran his team for the majority of the year with them in the red, kicking the can down the road. He can't help you in that regard. He's not qualified to do that. Now we'll talk about qualifications. Well, you're not qualified. Most NFL people are not qualified to talk about NFL coaches. He said that. He ain't qualified. Well, you're not qualified to talk about helping nobody fix no goddamn budget when the majority of your teams are in the red. And then you got to kick the can for them to get in the black every damn year. Man, hell no, man. Mickey Loomis will put your ass in a pole house, man. Dude, he says, look it up. He getting like 50. Are you kidding, bro? I'm done. Okay, that's it. Jack, we blame Jack for why I'm about to end this goddamn stream. Blame it on Jack, man. Jack, I'm up out of here, man. That's unbelievable. $50 million to help the state with, yeah, OG. Yeah, you right, OG. You right. On that note, I'm up out of here, man. Jack done did it for me. All right, so listen anyway, fam. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. I'll be on Patreon tomorrow, man. We'll talk a bit about the Saints matters. We also got some videos coming out, man, some highlight videos coming out, as well as we turn it up for getting ready for the draft and the combine and everything like that, man. We're gonna be doing some stuff, man. We added some few more people to the team in terms of our video editors, so shout out to them. And we're gonna flip on and do some more stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna holler at y'all on Tuesday on our Patreon special, man. So we got some more mock draft and I'm gonna do. I got 2 that I've been holding, man. I'm sorry, y'all. I've been just so busy. But listen, we're going to holler at y'all on the next one. Much love.
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, 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 Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, Buggy like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
WhoThatDaily.com. That's right, the WhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, WhoThatDaily.com is your site. The WhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the